Dreaming of starting a business? 12 famous companies that started in the garage. Have you ever considered what else you can possibly store in your garage besides your car and or seasonal decorations? Then stop your search. Because of the excellent examples of businesses and musicians that got most out of their garages, those innovators were passionate about their success. The message is loud and obvious, coming from major companies like Amazon, Google, and Disney, as well as hugely successful bands like Nirvana, Creedence Clearwater, Revival, and The Who. What you do with your garage is up to you. Do you want to start your own business? Then you should consider using your garage because 12 of the most famous companies in the world started in the garage, such as Disney. Walt Disney was passionate about cartooning since he was in high school. His interest in being an animator changed after working on some crude animations, and he was given a camera to practice with at home. During this time in Kansas City, Missouri, Walt Disney produced his very first motion picture. He began by adapting Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, which starred a young actress by the name of Virginia Davis. Disney produced Alice's Wonderland in 1923 as part of a series of Laugh-O-Grams, a live-action animated hybrid short that was never released commercially but earned a lot of appreciation from its Missouri-based fans. Although it's not commonly known, it is assumed that a lot of the editing and animation work done by Disney on his movie was done in a garage. Hewlett-Packard. Bill Hewlett and David Packard made the decision to create a business in 1939 that would specialize in producing various electrical gadgets. Currently, they are well known for producing personal computers, software, and computing accessories, but their origins are in a wide range of specialized technological discoveries. These included food items, sophisticated audio engineering gear, and various test tools. When they were able to streamline the technology contained in the audio accelerator and sell it for a portion of what their rivals were charging, they discovered initial success. Walt Disney, a fellow entrepreneur, was able to purchase 8 of Hewlett-Packard's Model 200B accelerators at the pricing point for his musical picture Fantasia. We found the fact that these pieces of technology were created in a one-car garage in Palo Alto, California, to be probably the most interesting aspect of the history of Hewlett-Packard. The garage is now recognized as a historic location with a plaque designating the location of HP's founding. Apple. Apple Computers was founded in Silicon Valley, California, along with Hewlett-Packard and many other now dominant companies in the technology sector. Steve Wozniak met Steve Jobs while working for Hewlett-Packard, where they later grew close. Together, they collaborated on one of Jobs' projects at Atari and ultimately succeeded as a team. Wozniak started working on the Apple I in 1975, which served as the foundation for the Apple personal computer Revelation's remarkable success. He raised $1,300 to finish his ambitious design, and in Steve Jobs' garage, he glued the computer circuit boards together. Though legally speaking, Apple Computer, formed in 1976, was never run out of a garage. Wozniak claims he made most of his work in his HP cubicle. The Palo Alto, California home where they built and fitted the pieces together has since been designated a historical landmark. Microsoft. As they say, inventions are born out of necessity. When you have a big idea, sometimes the only place you have to expand it is a garage. Bill Gates and Paul Allen did not let this stop them from starting Microsoft in a garage in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Although they did not have much office space, they had a lot of grit, talent, and tenacity, all of which enabled the business over the better part of 3 decades to become a leader in technological innovation. They may have felt particularly strongly about the Genesis narrative because they later launched their Microsoft Garage, a project allowing engineers to experiment with their own original technological ideas. Dell. In keeping with the theme of now dominant computer companies, Dell's history seemingly begins in obscurity. While still a student at the University of Texas at Austin, Michael Dell launched Dell Computer Corporation, then doing business as PCs Limited, in 1984 and started building computers from his off-campus home. He even quit school to devote all his time to the new venture after growing confident enough in it. He was now operating the business out of his garage and producing personal computers that went on sale in 1985. He made more than $73 million in his first year of business. Virgin. The Virgin firm had a rather humble beginning. Despite growing to become one of the richest companies in the world, Richard Branson launched a student-focused magazine while still a high school student in Britain. He wasn't prepared for the popularity of the magazine, which gave him the courage to launch a full-fledged startup company. Virgin Records' initial incarnation was a retail operation where Branson would mail vinyl albums at a discount to any customers who made an order. It is generally accepted that Branson's basement and garage, where he could store the equipment required to keep records of album sales, were the primary sources of funding for this business. Amazon. When Jeff Bezos, a Princeton graduate, learned about the expanding use of the internet in 1994, he made the decision to leave his safe full-time position as a reputable hedge fund. This occurred at the same time as a significant Supreme Court ruling that changed the way taxes would apply to online commerce. Bezos moved to Bellevue, Washington from New York, where he established the online bookshop in his garage. He had the room he required in this area to enable the storage, packaging, and shipping of books to be delivered to his clients. Google. The history of Google is arguably one of the most well-known and documented examples of a garage to glory success story. Two Stanford University students called Larry Page and Sergey Brin rented a garage from Susan Wojcicki in Menlo Park, California in 1998. For the next 5 months, Google will operate out of this hub as they refine their algorithms and started indexing websites all over the internet. Fortunately for Google, they quickly outgrew the garage and moved while taking Susan with them. She began as their landlord, but eventually rose to the position of vice president of product management. Google now owns the garage on Santa Margarita Avenue as a nod to their humble beginnings. Mattel. Now, all garage startup businesses change the face of technology. A few transformed their particular niche markets. One of these unusual projects was Mattel, which was equally as successful as some of the other huge names on this list. Harold Matson joined forces with Elliott Handler in 1945, and the couple started making picture frames in their garage studio. Despite the fact that this business was moderately profitable, they made the decision to make the most of their resources and started creating miniature furniture from the leftover components from their picture frame production. The team correctly decided to push further into the toy sector after the sales of the doll-sized furniture eventually surpassed those of the picture frames. By 1948, what had begun as a side venture had grown into a legally recognized enterprise. Today, Barbie, Matchbox, the whole Fisher-Price product line, and even the board game Scrabble are among Mattel's best-known products. MagLite. MagLite, which is now a well-known brand associated with tough flashlights, is also a tale of the garage as a place to pursue one's aspirations. Tony Maglica, a Croatian immigrant, arrived in Los Angeles in the year 1950. He worked odd jobs for 5 years, none of which paid well, before starting a machinist job. He was inspired by his experience to buy a metal lathe and start cutting parts in his garage at home. With the help of components he produced, Malika eventually established his own machine shop, Mag Instruments. He started producing the torches that would make him famous around this period. A competent machinist with a dream in a garage to manufacture it gave birth to these long-lasting items, which for a while served as a standard equipment for all American police officers. Yankee Candle Company. One of the most endearing tales on this list is perhaps the one about Yankee Candle. Michael Kittredge wanted to make his mother an original Christmas present when he was a high school student. He made a fragrance candle that he hoped his mother would like, using a variety of objects he'd find laying around the house, most notably a red crayon for color. However, a nearby woman noticed Kittredge's work and was so delighted that she persuaded him to sell it to her before he can give it to her. With the cash she provided him, Michael was able to purchase the supplies needed to make 2 more candles, one for his mother and one to sell. That Christmas season, he ran his business out of his garage. 5 years later, he officially established a business in a store close to Mount Holyoke College. It's hard to disagree when Yankee Candle Company refers to this story as a true American story. Harley-Davidson. It probably isn't shocking that this current motorbike industry titan began in a garage. In 1901, William S. Harley and Arthur Davidson built their first prototype in a small wooden shack, which makes it a little difficult to visualize them doing so. It might be even more challenging to picture this prototype as a miniature bicycle motor as opposed to a real motorcycle. But it didn't take Harley and Davidson very long to enter this market. They have formally established their business in 1903, and since then, they have established a reputation as manufacturers of American motorbikes of the highest caliber and octane. We sincerely hope you enjoyed this video about some companies that made the most out of their garages. The garage is typically the first area of the house that guests, neighbors, and even you can see. We wanted to foster a little awareness for this frequently disregarded area of your home because of this. So the next time you walk in your garage, you should think about your next business venture. If you learned anything from this video, then you should like this video and then share this video with your friends. Oh, and make sure you subscribe to our channel as we will upload more great videos in the future.